Well, what are you doing here? Oh, pardon me, that's rude. What I mean is, well, it's about time for my class with the quiz kids, and, say, come to think of it, I'm glad you are here. Yes, sir? Joe Kelly is really branching out today. Right after the question session, I'm going to tell the quiz kids something, and you too. You'll see the quiz kids entirely unrehearsed, just as they appear each Sunday evening on the Blue Network. Ah, they're sweet children. Always joking. Well, friends, we're going to have a lot of fun today, just as we always do. And more than that, we're going to tell a story which concerns all 30 million of America's school children. They're all quiz kids, you know. They're the ones that'll have to answer the questions of our future. And perhaps today we can show how you can help them. Oh, good heavens. All right, kids, all right. Class is called to order. Now, children, I like to keep things interesting in your last class before lunch, so I'm going to start off with a tricky little question. What captains of the U.S. Navy always go down with their ships, but usually live to tell the tale? David?
Submarine captains.
I see. I'm going to have to make them tougher. In the book Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, Tom was asked to name the first two apostles. Do you know what Tom answered, and would you have said the same thing? Ruthie?
Well, he said David and Goliath, but I wouldn't have said the same thing because the first two apostles were, I believe, James and John, or else Andrew and Peter.
Andrew and Peter, that's right. David?
Well, I was going to say David and Goliath is what he mentioned.
Yeah, then?
He mentioned that in front of a judge.
He what? Oh, you mean it was the judge in Tom Sawyer that asked Tom that Bible question. Ruthie?
It wasn't a judge. It was a teacher of the Bible, sort of.
David?
I still think it was a judge.
Ah, a little argument. Joel?
I think it was the teacher.
Pat?
I think it was the judge, too.
Pat, you and David were both right. It was Judge Thatcher. Whew. And now for some geography. Now, kids, I'm going to show you outline maps of 3 states. Try to identify the states from their shapes alone. Here's number 1. Ruthie?
I think that's Maine.
Joel?
New York.
The state of New York. That's right, Joel. Now, here's the next one. Joel?
That looks a little like Michigan.
Michigan it is. Now. Here. Ruthie?
Utah.
Utah is correct. Now I turn music teacher. I've got an idea. I'm going to play a song, and I want you kids to find something in the song that would go good with your school lunch. Now listen. That's right. So?
And, well, there's fish.
Fish.
And pork, pigs.
That's right. Pat?
And there's a mule in there, too.
True, Pat, but not for your school lunch. Now, see what you can do with this one.
Tree and so the apples.
Uh-huh, correct. David?
Well, I don't know the name of the song, I know it starts out with C major.
Oh, no, David. I'm afraid you're wrong this time.
Play it again.
Oh, sure. Well, I guess the best of us make mistakes, don't I? That was C major. Well, I think we better have some chemistry, kids. I'm going to show you the model of a molecule from which substances are made. Here we are. The black balls represent carbon atoms, the medium shade oxygen, and the light ones hydrogen. Now this is a molecule of what substance? Fierce looking thing, isn't it? Ruthie?
Well, there are 6 carbon atoms in it, and then there are 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens.
So?
And so that would be, well, it'd be a carbohydrate called glucose, or better known as dextrose.
Correct. Fine. Now, how about this one? Ruthie again.
That's formic acid.
Right, formic acid.
And its formula is HCOOH. It's the simplest acid, and it's that liquid that the...
Wait a minute, Ruthie. What did you say the formula was?
HCOOH. Or it could be H2CO2. Or H...
Well, according to the answer I have here, it's HCO2H.
I know, but the correct organic formula is HCOOH.
Well, now,
Because the COOH group, or the carboxyl group, is the acid group.
well, they, oh, sure. Oh, yes, naturally. Everybody knows that, yes.
And formic acid is the liquid that a bee or an ant or a mosquito deposits under your skin when they sting you, and that's what keeps stinging after they've gone.
Well, that's fine, Ruthie. Yeah, that's fine. In fact, you did so well on that one, Ruthie. I want you to come on up here, and we'll play charades. Come on. Ruthie, I want you to act out this nursery rhyme, and the other kids will try to guess which one it is. What nursery rhyme does that remind you of? Pat?
Cry Baby Bunting?
No. Pat?
Little Boy Blue.
Little Boy Blue, correct. Ruthie, see what you can do with this next one.
Put it on your desk.
Yes, get right up on the desk there. That's it. That's fine. This is going to be something. Pat?
Humpty Dumpty.
You're right. Old Humpty Dumpty really fell today. Now, here's a hard one. It's estimated that there are 30 million school children in the United States. How many gallons of milk would it take to give each of them 1/2 pint every school day for 1 year if the school year is 200 days? Joe?
Well, for 1/2 pint for 200 days for each of them, that would be 100 pints per year for each of them, and there's 8 pints in a gallon, so that would be 12.5 gallons per year for each of them, and 12.5 times 30 is 375, and that times a million is 375 million gallons of milk.
Right, and I hope you're drinking your share.
And incidentally, Mr. Kelly, sometimes I drink some of that every day I'm in school.
Well, great. And later on, I'm going to tell you just how important that is. But now, here's one of those deep questions. If you could marry anyone in Shakespeare's plays, whom would you marry? Joe?
I don't think I'd like to marry right now. I'd consider later.
Well, a man likes to be sure of himself. Pat?
I'd like to marry Julia in Two Gentlemen of Verona.
Well, why, Pat?
Because she had a lover that didn't love her, and that promised to put a ring on. She gave him a ring, and he gave her a ring. And after a while, he fell in love with Sylvie, and she came, and when she saw who was singing Sylvia, she didn't know whether it was him or not.
So Julia's boyfriend didn't want to marry her at first, and that would leave the field wide open for you, eh, Pat? Joel?
Besides, if I married, it wouldn't be nice to marry someone in Shakespeare that was too old for me.
Well, I can see that you're thinking this thing out very carefully. David?
I'm afraid I'd be a bigamist because I'd marry Sylvia in Two Gentlemen of Verona because she was very honest.
Uh-huh.
And I'd marry Orfeo in Hamlet.
What did you say that would make you?
Vigorous.
Man, sakes alive. Ruthie, what's the young lady think of all this?
Well, I'd like to marry Hamlet, but except that he wasn't very much of a man of action, and I'd like to marry a man of action.
Uh-oh. Well, interesting as marriage is, it's almost time for the lunch hour and time for just one more question. Tell me this. Just what do you kids like to eat best? Ruthie?
Well, I like to eat beefsteak and lamb chops and French toast and eggs and milk.
What?
I mean, I don't like to eat them all in one meal, but I like to eat them at different meals, and they're my favorite food.
How about you, Joel?
These also are at different meals. Hot dogs, hamburgers, ice cream, and cake.
Well, tell me, Joel, are all those things good for you?
Yes.
Well, it's a lucky thing that we've got a school lunch program here to sort of manage things for you, Joel. Patty, what do you like best to eat?
I like hamburgers.
With
onion on?
Spaghetti. Huh?
And biscotti.
Oh, spaghetti. And I'll bet that Pat likes accamaroni, too. Well, you know, I've always liked biscotti, too. Well, kids, it's time for lunch, and I've got a surprise for you today. I'm going to do a little magic and have your school lunches served right at your desks. Now, keep your eyes on your desks. That's it. Presto, change-o, jiggle the lid. Let's have a lunch for every kid. Yes, kids are always hungry, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with a good, healthy appetite, as long as it gets taken care of at the right time with enough of the right foods. That is very important. It's their best assurance of quick leadership in classroom and playground, and their best insurance for a long, healthy life. There are 30 million school children in America, and a lot of them live like this. This isn't a foreign land. These are American children, and they're hungry. Sometimes this hunger is very clearly defined. Sometimes you can't see it at all. Hidden hunger. This child eats enough. The food budget of her family is above average, but not enough of the right kinds of food, and she's hungry. In busy America, many mothers perform many necessary jobs outside the home, but we must never become too busy to feed our children. These kids have left school for the lunch hour. They were given money to buy their noon meal, but look what they've done with it. Here they are, making a tasty snack do for a whole meal. No wonder there's no color in this lad's cheeks. He's hungry. But here in the United States, we're lucky. Our children, none of them need to go hungry. We've got the food. America's farmland is the world's greatest food factory. All these crops must be marketed. Our government's price support program helps the farmer to get even distribution of his produce and a fair price for producer and consumer. When distribution fails, prices fall, and this happens. This is waste. School lunches help prevent it. And by saving this waste, we can at the same time have this. But wait a minute, neighbor. We can only have this if we get together right in our own neighborhood. Here together, a practical plan of sponsorship of a school lunch program can be worked out. And the Department of Agriculture in Washington will help. It will help your community pay for part of the food by reimbursing local sponsors up to 9 cents for the Type A lunch, a complete, delicious, well-balanced meal. Or 6 cents for the Type B lunch, a good meal too. Or 2 cents for the milk that kids always need. Once you have started, there's menu planning, purchasing, preparation, and cooking to do. It can be done in a large school or in a small school like this. And the United States Department of Agriculture can supply information that will help you get started and keep going. Going on serving our school children, all of them, whether they can pay or not. It's this food at the right time in the right place that will make our kids better able to answer not only their questions in school, but the questions they must solve in building the future of our country. Well, something for me, too. Oh, Fine, fine. Why don't you try it?